Right, thanks.
Yeah, so just to kind of set you up, this is kind of, you can have 5 what we term your favourites. So, if there's programs you're going into on a frequent basis, rather than finding it from the navigation, navigating through the menu, you can just simply on your desktop right click and say choose favourites. And then what you'll see on the left hand side is obviously the complete menu. And then it's just a case of navigating to the one you want. What I got in here, like transaction posting was the first one I've set up. So you just kind of click on the program itself. That'll come into the list in the shortcut, and then you can just browse for an icon that will just be in the working folder. You'll have these sort of various icons, or you can browse to anything in Windows that is an icon file, so that just like you would have on your actual normal PC desktop.
Yeah.
So as I say, you can have up to 5 of those, and just makes it a bit easier, because some of the programs are a little bit embedded, like the exception report. If I was to navigate to that via the menu structure, we're kind of going reports, member reports, exception report, and then advanced. So it's got four levels of clicking, whereas we can just have a simple shortcut to that.
Yeah.
So the kind of crux of the system, this is a membership and accounting system. So it's keeping details of all your member records. It's then updating the nominal ledger or the general ledger, which is the balance sheet and P&L of the business. So it's a one-stop shop for all the member side as well as the accounting side. Some of our competitors don't actually have a nominal ledger, so they only deal with members and have to output it to Sage or QuickBooks or something like that. The system really started based on the nominal ledger. Just a tiny bit of history: before we got involved with credit unions, it was firms of accountants that we dealt with, so it was all nominal related. So we had a really strong backbone to build the membership ledger around that. Hopefully the menu is kind of logically narrated. So maintenance is maintaining bits of the database, changing records, adding information, and we sort of distinguish that from processing, which is more a sort of dynamic transaction input. We have a section UC and budget. So UC stands for Universal Credit, and you're an employee-based credit union. Quite a lot of our customers are community-based, and so they're receiving universal credit and other benefits into the credit union's bank account on behalf of members. So there's a platform to administer that. We've always had a budget account, and quite often people use that to operate a funeral plan that CUNA Mutual, or C Mutual as they're now, run. And I just made a note to myself to ask you, does your credit union insure the loans and savings with CUNA?
As in, if we were to go out of business?
No, this is more, you pay a premium to an insurance company, so in the event of a member dying, they'll either cover the loan or cover the savings.
No, you don't know. Apparently it's we worked out that it wasn't actually worth our while with the premium that was being charged. So
right, no. Okay, you dropped it. Yeah, I think a few people dropped it over time, or dropped the savings element and just kept it as the loan. But yeah, and it is quite prohibitive. And so if I'm mentioning like the funeral plan again, that's not something, to your knowledge, that the credit union administers?
No.
Okay, no worries. Next was a sales and purchase ledger. So if you're posting expenses, some people quite often just put that straight through the nominal ledger. They're crediting the bank, debiting the rent account, that type of thing. Whereas if you wanted a further analysis of that and more of a register, then we have the purchase ledger there, where you can create suppliers, record the invoice, record when you make the payment. So you've got that kind of analytical history of invoices that you have to pay. And we had some credit unions that were like renting out office space and things like that to other organisations. So then that was why we really introduced the sales ledger, the kind of flip side of the purchase ledger. That's the credit union selling services, i.e. space, and raising invoices to their landlords, etc. Next on the menu inquiry, obviously sort of drilling into information visually. Then we have the reports menu, actually producing detailed reports, various statistics, some month-end procedures, year-end clear down, and a little bit of help on this system as well, various little functions. So that's the menu in principle. Anytime you're in a program, if you press F1, you should be able to get the pop-up menu for the help as well. Probably a little bit out of date, as you see, it's still called the help files cuts to the Sercle, whereas we rebranded that was how it used to be known, and people do phone up and still call it curtains. But just when the company got a rebrand, the product also got a rebrand, so it's now just Sercle platform. Now, one of the kind of first things that Joe mentioned to me was on the bank rec. Now, you've done quite a bit of that. I think you've obviously you're comfortable with the concept of it. I hope. Do you want me to kind of go a wee bit on this? I was saying that to Joe earlier, like, because you've got some experience of the platform, I didn't want to bore you to death with things that you're kind of comfortable with.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's okay. It's just obviously I've struggled because I suppose people weren't recording what they should have been recording, as in, the transactions. So I was just getting blank reports when I was looking back at things, which was quite frustrating. So obviously Raminta's now going to do that and save the report. So she's going to do it statement by statement as well, which is good. But yeah, I suppose I've just struggled because I didn't really know where I was looking or what I was looking for. And when I was looking for things, I was finding blank reports, which was frustrating. But Andy actually, sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, I know I remembered on one of the screen grabs you sent me, there was the nominal code was left blank. And I see we say leave blank for all, and that would be picking up all bank accounts, but we don't really advise that. We would say, reconcile one bank account at a time by entering its nominal code, so the search is restricted to that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we always do. I don't know. I might have just taken a screenshot for you for something and not put it in.
Just, right, okay.
Yeah, so we do normally. Yeah, just
nice.
I don't know
so
why that was.
What you say about Andy?
Yeah, Andy's said that there must be some system for this. What I'm just about to say, because he said, we're a small credit union, but other places are dealing with possibly millions of transactions a week or whatever. But he said, I still obviously don't understand this system enough, but he's saying we've got to be able to reconcile from a particular date, and we shouldn't have to see all the transactions that have gone after that. It should be just up to that date that we see all these transactions. And I don't really know what he's saying, that that basically all these transactions shouldn't be there. Why are they there still? If you want to reconcile, he said, it seems we can only do it live, as in, so if someone's inputting hundreds of transactions like now, like other credit unions or whatever would be doing, they'll all be going on while we're doing this bank rec. And he's saying that why can we not just see up to that date and not see any transactions after that date?
Well, we can let you do that as an option. But the rationale behind why we do that is, you're working, say it was, you got the bank statement for the 1st of July and you've been processing up to now, because the bank account has moved, but with the 25 days of July. So the bank balance on 112, as my example account, has changed. And so it has to deduct all those other items that are outstanding to compensate for the change that's happened to the bank account to get back to the balance, a balancing figure as at the 1st of, say, 1st of July in that example. What we say to people, I mean, we advise that doing the bank reconciliation if they can daily, and Deb's mentioned Vicky at Blues and Twos, and I'd be interested to see what she advises you on that as well, but I'm pretty sure they do that reconciliation on a day-by-day basis, otherwise it becomes a bit unwieldy. But so that's the logic of why we have to show everything, to be able to compensate back to the in the image, trying to reconcile back to the balance that you're feeding in when you do the reconciliation. The trigger that you were asking, is this what you can try this option that says show image at a date under the option? And then that would take off anything beyond the date for visual purposes, but then it will look as if there'll be like an anomaly with the balance when it's trying to compare, because it's not taking them into account. But if it helps in a sense not to see them, then there is that option. But
so what you're saying, if we do that, then it's not going to, the balance is not going to match up because it's not taking into account those other transactions.
That's right.
The future transactions. Okay.
I say it'd be interesting to see, because as much as we've developed the application, it's interesting to see how people use it in different ways. So I think it would be interesting to hear it from the horse's mouth, as in another credit union, the options that they're using.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, something that I've kind of put on our own internal agenda was, I'm just going to do a kind of quick reconciliation. I've just got some dummy data here. So you're putting in the date up to what order you want to look. If you've got lots of items, you can use the little search function to hone in on a particular entry. If the register's enormous. But what, because with speaking to you, it kind of got me looking into it. What I didn't like was, we tag the item, we save that. Do you want a report of these? Yes, because it's only in the report that you get to put the page number in, which then is stored in the record. So if you were reconciling, I know you're saying Raminta is going to do that now, but what I didn't like was it can only go straight to printout as opposed to be able to print preview. So I want us as an organisation to look at that, because I think it'd be good if you could print preview and then save it as a PDF or something like that to your own folder, as opposed to just going straight to the printer.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I think that would be helpful, because it's a module that we haven't, it's been in existence for, I don't know, 10 years. It's not really needed to have too much sort of revisiting, but when, as I say, with talking to you about it, it made me think, could it be improved? So that's on our radar.
Yeah, I think ours goes to a, sorry.
No, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think ours goes, because we're all working from home, I think ours goes to a PDF printer anyway, as in like it doesn't print out. So then we get the option to save it. But obviously I understand what you mean. It'd be much better if you had that option where you could preview and see it, then save that PDF, and, for other people as well who actually work in the office. So yeah,
Absolutely.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
And I mean, as I said to you in the emails, I'm surprised, you've got a bank balance of 3 million and it's reconciling, which is fab. Obviously, when you've showed me the image, it looks as if there's a lot of history there, and I suppose that's what's prompted like Andy's question about why is it showing everything in the future. If you're, I don't know when the first transaction is that you've got to start reconciling from. I take it'll just be from whenever Catherine left. The entries are building up now, and you've got pages and pages of statements to work through. Yeah,
I've seen Raminta's doing it, but it's just, as I say, I've told her to do the statement, but I used to, when I used to do my bookkeeping, I used to work on QuickBooks and Xero, but I always used to do my bank rec on a daily basis, but as a bookkeeper. So, you know, obviously she's leaving it and then doing it, you know, days later, or it could be like, I think she had about 3 weeks to do the other when I first sort of got onto this with her. So that's not ideal. We, as you say, we really need to do it on a daily basis and keep this up to date.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody would be an advocate of that in the credit union world. Just becomes
Yeah.
unwieldy.
So I'll get that introduced and, you know, get her up to date, and then we'll make sure that's done daily, because I assume then you're going to have less issues with transactions, because they'll all be fresh in people's minds as well. If there is a problem, everybody will
Absolutely.
remember. When you ask them 3 weeks later, they're going, well, I don't know what that is, or, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I watched another sort of topic just came on when I was thinking about exercise that credit unions do on a monthly basis, and it might not be your role, but do you share your loan book with the credit reference agencies, i.e. TransUnion or Equifax or Experian?
I think someone said about that we do. I think it might have been Andy said that we do, but I can't remember. I remember that conversation with someone. So yes, I'd say that yes, we do.
Is
I
that
think.
something you're going to take on as one of your tasks, or is that the responsibility of somebody else just now?
No, I think it would be one of the team, but I'd have to ask them. I don't know. Well, unless it was a conversation I've had with one of you guys, but I'll check with Andy. And then if he says that we do it, then I'll check which member of staff is doing it. Why do you mention
Just
that?
only because I
Is that
thought
on Sercle, or?
it was just in case it was one thing you were going to be doing month on month and hadn't really been seen, because it is quite a kind of critical part of the business. So I just wondered if you wanted it covered, if that was something that you were going to do on a sort of regular basis.
Michelle, what I'll do is I'll write down a question as they arise that would be useful for you to ask the business, yeah?
Yeah, great, thank you.
No worries.
Okay, so the next topic that Joe mentioned was like the board reports.
Yeah.
And you know, there's various reports, and I suppose a lot of these will be driven from the nominal ledger subjects, and you know, you've got the trial balance, which is the the detailed list of all the nominal ledgers with a current balance.
Yeah.
And you know, so that's a report that they might want. Just FYI, you know, if you're in the view mode that I did instead of print preview, you know, you can click on an account to drill into to call it up in nominal ledger. Be useful.
Great.
The accounts, so the balance sheet and profit and loss, they'll be probably wanting on a periodic basis as well. Fairly straightforward, and it can be output to Excel if that was your preference, as opposed to a printed report. But something that I just wanted to draw your attention to is within month end. I mean, month end itself isn't as critical as, or certainly from a system perspective, as people think. You know, it does a bit of tidying up, a bit of archiving of data. It's not catastrophic if you don't run it. As I say, the necessity of it is become sort of less and less, because reports being able to be sort of printed as and when you wanted anyway. But the reason I wanted to come into that was just because of this button here that says print essential month end. And this was our sort of little attempt at a kind of one-stop shop for you to produce documents that the board might want in one go without navigating, you know, to 10 different other programs. So, you know, print a cover page if we want, which would just detail what's in the pack. Do you want a balance sheet, revenue accounts? That's just another term for the profit and loss account. A cash report is just an analysis of the bank account, summarising all the ins, all the outs. the LPLS, which you said you don't do anymore, the trial balance, product balance report, and that would be listing absolutely every member. So kind of use with caution, that's what it says, complete. A summary report, the EOD just stands for the end of day. And I don't know if we've talked about that as well. That's an option under the help menu called end of day report. And it's just something we advise people to run. It's a useful tool because it just lets you know that there's a balance between what the members say is all their share and loan balances versus what's on the nominal ledger for the control accounts for those products. And I'll maybe touch on that a bit more. Then we have SAR, which is our statistical and reporting analysis, which is actually a tool in itself. In fact, before you came on the call, Michelle, I was just saying to Joe and Debs about this thing. It's a sort of little known tool. It's quite a complex module, and if time permits, I'll maybe touch on that as well. And the final report, what's actually an Excel document, it's a loan maturity ladder, and this just says, you know, if the credit union didn't do any more loans, it's like how much interest could you expect to earn on the loan book as now until every loan is repaid, and that's kind of useful MI, I guess, to see what kind of future income you can expect if they paid their loan.
Okay.
So let me just touch back on the end of day report, end of day routine. So what I'm saying is that each product, and I think you were talking to Paul on this a bit yesterday. So each product the credit union creates, just giving it an alphanumeric coding, represents a loan or a savings account, is then associated with a particular nominal account. So in my case, so L1 and RC products are associated with code 1420. And what the system's doing is then is saying, so sum up all the members who've got a loan one account, that equates to that 20 grand, and then look at the balance sheet and see what balance is on 4020 and pop that into the nominal. And so it's just a good way to say that everything is in sync. So all the members are truly represented on the back office accounts. You can see there's a little red one. So red indicates there's an imbalance. You can see there, so I've got a product called SEC. I say it's just rough data, but at least it demos that. So the members have got no balance. The account, the nominal has got a balance, so then it just highlights that. So it's just useful to give you that peace of mind that everything is in balance from that particular perspective.
So with that, would that affect the bank rec in any way? Or is it just the nominal and the members?
I was going to say kind of yes and no, you know, because invariably if the loan or savings account has been posted to, invariably the double entry would be the bank account. So, you know, by virtue of that, if something's affected like that code or loan 1420, the bank must have had an impact in it, you know, when we allocated when the loans, when we got the loan repayment. So in a roundabout way, yes.
Yeah, because that's what Raminta asked me today. But so that end of day report, obviously I've got them all clear in their own audits now as they do it and saving their audits just in case there's any issues with them. So is that the same as so would I still see those transactions if I'd done an end of day, if they've been clearing their own audits or not? Yeah,
absolutely. This is just it's a kind of pulling in a summary, if you like. So you're referring to the audit, and that was like the detailed entries, and that's great if that's broken down by teller. And because you'd have smaller batches, if something goes out, then it'd probably be easier to identify as well. So yeah, this is just looking at all the member balances right at this moment in time and looking at the nominal. And even if there's an audit pending, it will tell you that up here, say audit, end of day report, audit pending. And what we try and do is we do the science to say, right, the loan balance is 20,000 on the nominal. Michelle's processed loan allocations of 10,000. So we would compensate for that and, and update the nominal even before it's actually hit the nominal ledger because of the pending audit.
Mm-hmm. So saying pending audit, do you mean that they haven't cleared their audit yet? Or what do you mean by that,
absolutely.
Pending audit?
So let me just do a transaction.
Okay.
Let's say somebody's paying in something bizarre, £10,000 cash. So I've processed a transaction. So now, as you say, if you looked at the audit, my transaction would be there. I've not cleared it, so it hasn't affected the share nominal. But if I run this report,
it
just tells me that there is audits pending, but it's compensated on the share one account, factoring in because the member's already been updated by that 10,000, and it just says, well, it knows to do the science and say, even though you haven't cleared the audit, this is how the end result would look. So it just meant that people could run this report any time in the day. They don't have to necessarily wait till all audits are cleared to be able to do the report.
Okay. So what's the difference between this one and the one that everyone had to be finished for to do? Like, is that?
Yeah, so this is the audit. This is the detail breakdown of all the transactions that a user has done.
Yeah.
And then so that then is the catalyst once you clear that audit to update the back office nominal ledger. So in this case, it would, credit the bank account, sorry, debit the bank account, credit shares by 10,000. So that's, and if people are looking back on their postings, then they would, look at this detail report.
But if they're clearing their audit properly, I shouldn't see that if I do it at the end of the day.
That's right. You wouldn't be, the whole audit should be clear if they're doing that.
Yeah. So what was the other one then that you're telling me to do in help? So help end of day routine.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay. And that can be done anytime during the day.
Anytime, yeah. And you just keep an eye on anything that turns red when it hasn't been read.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so the month ends, I'm just saying this might prove useful as a kind of one-stop shop for printing off board reports. I don't know if looking at that, is there anything else ad hoc that you have been asked to produce for the board that isn't on there? Is there a sort of pick list you've got?
I just sent that to Andy a while ago. So just let me bring that up. So, trial balance, bank rec, the last image of bank rec, including all the latest transactions received in the bank on that day.
So that has to be done
high interest. Yeah, high interest savings accounts breakdown. Member requests monthly report and a delinquency report. So I don't know whether they're from Sercle or whether that's what staff forgot to do.
Yeah, so that sounds like, I'm not too sure about the there's a couple of those sound quite specific. So I was thinking in terms of the savings accounts, the product balance report would be the most likely candidate where you would pick whatever this high, and is it high interest savings account? Did you say, or just high value?
Yeah, high interest savings account. Yeah.
So you're paying a high interest on that. Yeah, so I suppose you would just tick on that, click show, and then print if you wanted to. Does he want to see it kind of at each member?
I think he just wants the balances actually.
Okay.
Oh, high interest savings accounts breakdown. So I don't know. I think we've got couple, so I assume he just needs the breakdown of the two accounts. So it says updated once bonds mature. So as far as I'm concerned, they only mature once a year. So
maybe there's a couple of accounts where you've got your cash invested in, so they want to look at the return. That's what I would think. You see how it's performing. So that would be I don't know what you think. Yeah, so they want to understand how the money that's been invested is performing, you know, with the higher interest rates. That would be my take on that.
And how would you see how it's performing? Presumably that'd be for the provider, whoever they've invested the money with.
It'd
or
be
would
a
it give
copy
you a
of
guaranteed fixed thing?
Be a statement, wouldn't it, or a copy of the screenshot of the of the, you know, of, say for example, they've got 25 grand in Santander high interest. I'm just pulling stuff out the bag here. So it would be a screenshot of the page or the latest statement showing the return. If it's monthly, and you know, I don't know what you've got invested, but that would be my take on that.
Yeah, okay.
But certainly from our perspective, then if they wanted to see the account holders, you actually get the summary format, but then if I click on print and I say no to the summary, then it'll give me the list of who falls into that with that product, with that balance, if that's of use to them. That was a
with sorry, you can print out that this might be going into something else that you cover on another day, but you know where people owe money and it goes to say credit what is it, what's the thing where they I forgot, where they don't pay it back, or they pay a ridiculous amount of money each month back. You know where people owe money and they don't pay, and then they get something against them, and then they can just, what's it called? I forgot.
Arrears. It's bad debt right.
Yeah, but it's not that. It's when it's, so we've gone to the solicitors, it's gone through the solicitors, and then they've got a thing, involuntary IVA.
IVA, yeah.
So what Andy was saying was, can we actually see who is IVAs, you know, how long they've been, whether they're paying, who's like just gone to the solicitors, who's been passed over to bad debt, like to actually try and recover the money as in a solicitor. Is there any way of seeing that? Is it separated on Sercle in any way, or is it just literally bad debt?
No, because we have this so it's the loan delinquency, if you were touching on that as well. So there's the calculation and reporting tool within here. Then what we have is our own credit control module. If I go into here, and then the idea is that you can set up 20 stages of debt. So, and if I just scroll to the right, you can see, and what's called a recovery stage. So you design your own stages. What, you know, as a loan might progress through the bad debt stages, for want of a better word, then you can, you know, as you work on a case, you know, if I was going to pick this one, you get to see some information, messages that you've logged on as part of your credit control action. And then if you're going to add like a diary message or do a letter, you can then record what stage you're moving them on to. And so what you do is you create in the narrative maintenance, you set aside numbers 51 to 69 are reserved for the bad debt recovery stages. And then, you know, you can, in this tool, and you could filter by those to get at the particular stages that you have designed. So I've got 4 here. I don't know if I've got any on that, but let me just filter. No, there's nobody on that. You know, so that's how you can pick up that. What did you just click
on to filter?
The little question mark in the middle.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And there's various other options that you can put in there as well.
and then it will just give you a report of everything at that recovery.
That's right.
Stage, would it?
Indeed. And then even, you've got the recovery stage in the grid. If you felt it was better to have that in Excel, you can just right click and squirt that out to Excel. And then you could sort of do, so you could maybe have everything on that first, and then you could sort of do your own ad hoc filtering.
Yeah.
Based on the recovery stage.
And how did you get into that actual report?
So that was reports, and then loan reports, and delinquency credit control.
Thank you. Okay.
And something I'll just, well, you can maybe kind of show this to Andy as well, because you might be able to pick and mix on this. And it was just, and again, it was just something I was mentioning to my colleagues earlier on in the essential month end, and it was this statistics and management report. So if I just click and continue, it actually just takes me into this module. And so the idea behind this is it's a sort of one-stop shop to create an Excel document at the period end for whatever month you want, and you get to decide what kind of information you want. So if I click on import default, this gives you the various categories that you can bring into this one report. I mean, you mentioned about savings and stuff. Again, it's triggered in here because I thought, there's this deposit analysis. There's savings analysis, just to kind of give you an idea of how it would look. So it might be worth getting Andy to have a look at that to see if there's various things here that could be of use to them. I'm just going to leave them all on, and I'll click import just so that I can sort of demo it, what it actually does and how it looks. So that's brought in. So it was the full. So it's going to bring a nominal ledger, member numbers, range, etc. And you can change about colours and things like that as well. But I'm just going to say, so we're in July. Create the spreadsheet. So all the hard work's done, all the configurations there. So on a month by month basis, we can just come in here and say create the spreadsheet. I'll just bring it up in a minute once it's done. You can see Excel flashing at the bottom. So there's a kind of wealth of MI in this one single report. Stop flashing. That looks like, is it done? Yep. So we've got a nominal analysis at the top. If with any budget figures, we've got the income, and kind of talk about the membership range, ins, outs, how much cash or checks we've had, deposit analysis, how the savings is broken up, loans, juveniles to delinquency, our provisions, investments, and some key ratios. So let's say that might prove useful, and Debs and Joe have been speaking to customers as well, and kind of feedback is that they're saying they'd quite like a sort of one-stop shop MI page, and we're thinking that just not enough people know about this tool to benefit from it.
Yeah. Okay.
Just tell me it's finished. So yeah, maybe worth a little further investigation on that. And we've got some additional notes on that module as well, because it wasn't there initially when the system was kind of launched. That was something that was added in after the event, so it's not covered in the manual. So we've got separate documentation on that. I can send to you if you feel that's of use.
Okay.
Well, so the points that was hopefully we've covered the bits that I was aware of to try and cover. I hope that's been useful. And obviously, if there's anything now extra you've you're thinking about that we haven't touched on? Fire away.
No, not really.
Oh, so
No.
another thing I was going to say about, because if you weren't using the credit control module for these various stages, what we might advise is what's called user-defined fields. So if I go to normal member maintenance, just call up a member. So below the more information, there's space here for your 7 sort of top, your first 7 user-defined fields. But there is actually 21 in that button here. It exposes number 8 through to 21. So this is just like additional fields that you're adding into the database for your own credit union purposes. And so I'll just show you how they're configured. So it had its own little maintenance program. So you can see there, so there's the 21. I had the first one, it was just called stuff. And so you just give it a caption, you know, maybe put CC status or something like that. The type of field, so text, value, date, or a yes, no box. And where it's a text, you get this little wand icon where you can set keywords. So rather than all your colleagues typing, you know, with solicitor and typing solicitor wrong, you know, you can pre-populate it, you know. He says misspelling it, solicitor.
Sorry, is these what you was talking about earlier? The ones to do with the loans and delinquencies?
No, this is just what's an additional area where you can design your own fields to add on to member records out with the credit control module. You know, so if you weren't using the credit control module that has its own staging, if you like, this is more. I'm just saying you can create any fields that you like, and many credit unions have done that, which just then helps. So if you're in member maintenance, it just looks like a normal standard field. And now we've got that choice, and then we can run, you know, various reports based on that, those user-defined fields.
Okay.
So as I say, you can play with 21 of them. The first 7 just appear here as if it's just, you know, a field that's like email address, mobile, you know, as if it's there by default, but it's not. It's tailored by you. So that might be the kind of easiest way to record that status.
Okay.
And a kind of flip side, just for a quick MI on that, if I go to statistics, there's a thing called dot community branch analysis. It was designed for a particular purpose, and it's just a kind of quick MI that you could get if you have used the user definable field. Because you could say, right, I want to use the CC status field. What do I want to pick out? It could be everybody or narrow it down. And what this would give you is it would give you all the loan allocations, all the loan repayments, and any shared deposits that they've done within that period. I'll just say start right here, for example. And this is what it was actually designed for. It was giving various branches that were configured under this user definable field, giving them commission for the loans that they did. But we just thought we'd expose it for everybody because it might be useful. So you could see within that period of time, we've had £342 of loan repayment, 242 of interest, and we've had shared deposits. Got paid that 10 grand in, if you remember, and 446 out. So if you use the user defined fields, there's a nice little quick way to see the loans and the shares that have happened on those members, which I think is something that you said that Andy was kind of keen to see.
Yeah. That's only if we've got these fields set up, like you're saying, the CC status. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'd really need to look at it, see if anything like that is there, or I assume you wouldn't know that it's there or not, would you? Or would you?
We wouldn't know.
No, so I just need to look at, see whether initially they've got any set up first of all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then go back over your 15,000 members. Update them all.
Yeah, so how would I wouldn't be able to do that unless I look at every member.
Well, hopefully you'll know the members that are in that category already, I would imagine.
Yeah, no, what I mean is to look to see if anything's in place now, whether they're actually doing this already, because obviously I don't want to email them and go, oh, we was doing that. So I mean, for me to just have a quick look to see if they're actually making use of this, is there any way of me having just a quick look to see if they're making use of this facility?
Yeah, I suppose the thing is just refer to the maintenance program first and see if anything's been put into the 21 slots.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And sometimes we get, users have prepared lists in Excel that then we can stream into the system. They've collated information from whatever purpose and by whatever means, and then we can say to them, you've got a file, as long as it's got the member number and the bit of data you want to insert, and then we have the tools to kind of stream that in as opposed to changing each record manually.
Yeah, okay. Okay, cool.
Maybe from a sort of supervisory capacity, there's a useful tool under the help menu again called Account Activity Inquiry. And also maybe just as a precursor to that, the members of staff that you've got working would be created within this teller control, and then they're assigned a priority level. And again, that priority is just something you set as an at an organization level. We don't dictate that. It's just a number from 1 to 99. 1 by default is a kind of master level, so you get access to everything. But if you had other members of staff that you wanted to limit what they see in terms of the menu, again, under the help, we would go into menu priorities. If I say just level 9, well, I've got one there anyway. It's only got the file menu, it's got member inquiry. So you can just drag across programs or click the thing to add them and then assign them that priority, just so not everybody needs to see the full menu.
Yeah. No, I actually worked on that with Paul the other day because one of the staff needed access to the thing, so yeah.
But then, cool. So the reason I was touching on that was just this account activity inquiry, and that's useful for looking at things, changes. Every change to the database is logged. And let me just see what events are done today. It can be restrict by member, restrict by teller. So I'm just going to say member changes. So you can see there that at 1428 we changed the CC status from blank to with solicitor.
Yeah.
And so any kind of change is logged in here. Now, any sort of system events, like you see the end of day, because when you log on in the morning, we actually do an end of day behind the scenes invisibly and just log it in here. So there is a kind of a record of that. Because if you saw it was clear a couple of days ago and then it suddenly read, well, it would tell you what batch number we're up to as a kind of guide to go, all right, okay, so now it's out. So what happened at batch 1088, for example. And so just anything that's system related we record under member 0, because member 0 isn't a valid member number, so just a useful way of honing in on system events.
Yeah.
But
is there any way to see sorry, is there any way to see a list of reversals, what people are doing? Because there seems to be a lot of reversals going on, and I'm assuming that's because they're making errors.
Yeah, I'm sure that is logged. Let me I'll reverse that deposit I put in. So that was member 1, which is the F10 is the auto reversal tool to launch so I'll reverse that one. Account activity. I'll just go back to the member 1 just now. No, so we don't log that, I suppose, because that's a transaction that is then on the audit. It's not like a change, if you know what I mean. It'll be something that they have to audit and clear. So I guess that's why it's not logged as a kind of extra event, as if, because there's a paper trail to that, if you like.
Yeah, I only asked that because on the bank rec that I've been sorting transactions back to 2016 that Catherine hadn't dealt with, there was one where there was like 5 transactions like in and out, and they were 99p difference, so they were just left on the bank rec because obviously nothing was agreeing. But obviously looking into it, it was actually one of the, I think it was a member account, but it was 99p out, but that was obviously they'd been reversals and one of them was 99p out, so of course the bank rec you couldn't reconcile it because it was 99p out. But obviously when looking through it, we found what the error was, but I don't know why no one could find that before. But yeah, I was just, and the guys used to keep a list on Excel of their reversals they've done, but they stopped that, so I've asked them to start that again now. But so perhaps then you could, we could have found it easier. But
yeah, I mean, I suppose within the inquiry, because it's a transaction, under the previous postings inquiry, you get an option to look for all the F10s. Like you could just say only. So if I put in, let's say for this month, I only want to see F10s. That would then give me that list of the 2 transactions I've done today by just saying only F10s.
okay.
So this is just a transaction inquiry module, so, but that would help you for, if you don't want to tell the staff to log this Excel, if they're using the F10 function, you can just use that as your log. Save them creating another Excel doc.
Yeah, that would. Yeah. So what? Sorry, where was that? That was in inquiry. Previous postings.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Lovely. Okay. I'll see if that gives us what we need, and then then they won't need to fill out the spreadsheet if so.
That's it. Because if it's in the system, you don't want to try. You want to avoid. Don't you have an additional supplementary logs of things?
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you. I think you're giving me quite a lot to look at and work on.
I was going to say, I think originally we had on when we chatted yesterday was the bank recs, the trial balance, reporting, nominal setup, arrears, and then the board reports. I know you've had a lot of information like today, probably a lot to sort of get started with. Is there anything else, or would you rather set up a different, once you've had a time to kind of process all of this, have a look at some of your queries and if it's addressed them, and then maybe look at some more other areas?
Yeah, I think that would be good. That leave me to look at these sorts of things and get my head around and see if, I can deal with these and do anything with them, and then, move on another session if that's okay.
Yeah, as long as I think, because I think you were keen to get some of these out of the way for the next board meeting, which is that Thursday.
Yeah, but as you say, most of it is not, well, some of it is obviously trial balance is on. I know how to print that off. So, but other things are not actually connected to Sercle, so I need to go elsewhere to get those things. So, yeah, so that's fine.
All right,
but no, that's been great. It's really,
Debs, anything
really brilliant.
Thank you.
So a couple of comments. So Michelle and Michael, are you actually in the same house?
background.
I noticed that at the very beginning.
Michael with
and
his
I was
twisted
thinking,
round. It's Rebecca.
I think about Slinger here, guys. No,
I'm jealous of your view.
Mike, what are you doing, mate?
Oh,
I mean something, right? I think it's been really useful. I think let's give you a little bit of time. Obviously, there's I'll ping through the recording so you can reference that. Just reach out to Joe and I in the first instance if there's anything else that you need ahead of Thursday, and then we'll revisit Friday and set up the next session. How does that sound?
excellent. Brilliant. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I'll send an email after this call to Vicky. I'll copy you in so you're connected. All right.
Perfect. That's a good.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I just really
Thanks.
appreciate that.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
sorting, Mike.
Yeah, and Michelle, we're here. See you in a bit.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Mike.
Cheers.
Cheers, nice to meet
Thanks,
you.
Joanne. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
See you, ladies.
And you.
Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.